We do have a quorum. What do you guys want to do? Members of the committee.
Ooh.
I was thinking that our chairman is technically not here,
Yeah,
but I guess who's next in seniority line? It's like,
John,
it might be you.
That would be me. I'm already.
and I would say that, if we want, we can start with some of the really easy innocuous budgets, because Anthony isn't here either. A couple
Okay.
of them, animal inspector, parking clerk. I don't think there'll be much discussion on those anyway, if that's okay with acting chairman Ravenel.
Sure,
Okay.
make it so.
Sorry, my health agents, but we'll have to, Anthony's not here anyway. So why don't you go, Kevin?
Steve, which budget we start with? The animal?
To start with animal, yeah.
Okay. The animal control budget, we're recommending to be level funded for fiscal 23. We increase contractual services $1,500 based on current year expenses. We decrease sundry charges $1,500 because now we're splitting the cost of the dog pound fee with Reading. Main expenses here, contractual services. There's a line item 37,500 for professional services. We contract out the animal control duties. Total request is $40,600.
So the animal control officers are kind of paid on a per call basis. So they are not employees, they're contract employees, not employees, they don't get benefits or anything like that. They actually do this for a number of towns. We have been at the Saugus Pound for years. I'm not all that happy with that arrangement. So I'll be looking for somewhere else over the next year or two. I just don't think it's, I don't think it's the best such situation for us for a lot of reasons that I don't, more management than anything else. We did bring Reading on this year or beginning of last year. So the way we pay our on-call people is that they get paid per call. If it's a Wakefield call, Wakefield pays. If it's a Reading call, Reading pays. On weekends, however, they are they're on call and they get a very minimal stipend for a weekend, $250. And what I've done with that with Reading, Reading is covering half of that. So we're going to, this might see this budget ratchet down a little bit. Mr. Kenny, they had a coup. So.
Oh, that's fine. Take over. That's fine.
We had elected an acting chairman. No,
Hey, that's fine. Who is it? That's great.
it was Don. He's next in line in seniority. So
That's right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Go ahead. It's all yours.
no, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
You're now in charge.
Yeah, sorry guys. I was just working through some day job stuff. Carry on. I don't need to interrupt.
Yeah, basically animal inspector, which is basically level funded. We just talked about that. So parking, if there's no questions, parking clerk.
Parking clerk, we're recommending that this budget be decreased $168 over the current fiscal year. Personal services increase $332 due to contractual and negotiated increase. Contractual services has decreased $500. Most of the expenses under contractual services now, they're budgeted under the police department. Total budget request is $12,782.
Right, so this is just the person that processes the parking stuff at the town hall, not the
Correct.
others that
the
go
actual-
out and give the tickets.
Yeah, the actual ticket people are in the police budget.
Got it. Yep.
And these handle, appeals, work with the clearing tickets for people that have been paid. And if you haven't had someone come flying in on a Friday afternoon because they can't register their car because they have these unpaid tickets from 5 years ago, boy, it's a lot of fun.
And And Steve, remind me, are these employees that have other duties, or is this their only duty?
This is it. They are actually, one is, they're both retired employees. And they get paid, minimal to cover this.
Okay,
So in a sense, they're not benefits, they're not benefit eligible from this job. In fact, part-time, not benefited.
No questions.
Okay. Good job, Kevin, get rid of those two. Do we want to, I think we have the Board of Health on here now. John Spinello, do you mind waiting?
No, Steve.
Thank you. You sure?
No, that's fine. I'm good.
Okay. All right, if it's all right with you, Anthony's on, and I don't know if you've met Anthony Choi is our new health agent, signed in September, has a degree in epidemiology from Yale, because as I always say this, he couldn't get into Georgetown. So he had to go to Yale, the poor guy, but has done a fabulous job in, I think in everyone's opinion, and I think has some exciting news about the Board of Health, or the Health and Human Services Department, as we're calling it. So I think Kevin's gonna run through it a little bit, and then we will have Anthony and then answer any questions. We also are joined by members of the Board of Health, Candace Linehan, the chair, Laurel Gorval, and Elaine Silva, who are both members.
Board of Health budget, we're requesting an increase to this budget of $106,053 over the current fiscal year. This increase breaks down under personal services. The increase is $116,572. We have contractual and negotiated increases, also an additional step upgrade. There are 3.5 new positions in one half-time position that was reclassified out of the contractual services portion of the budget. If you look on page 5 of the budget, it shows the salaried individuals. The first position, the chief operating officer position, that's going to be funded half out of the tax levy and half using ARPA funds. The health inspector position is also a new position. Actually, it's a half new position. Half of it was under the professional services line item under contractual services. We broke that out, reclassified it under personal services, and that is going to the tax levy, all out of the tax levy. The assistant public health nurse, it's a part-time position, but it is also a new position. It's going to be funded from ARPA funds. The social services coordinator, another new position. It's 100% full-time and 100% out of ARPA, using ARPA funds. Contractual services, we decreased contractual services. The main thing there was the reclassification of the health inspector that was under the professional services line item. We moved that from there over to the personal services section. And we also removed an offset that we had last year, or in fiscal 22, the current fiscal year, that we used to help offset the increase in hours for the public health nurse. Small increases under materials and supplies, $500. Small increase under sundry charges, $890. And a small increase under the mosquito control line item of $488. The total tax levy request for fiscal 23 is $383,076.
Questions?
is
You wanna
that,
let- Okay, you might want to let Anthony say a few words first, Evan, if that's okay.
Okay, yeah, sure. Sorry, Anthony. you having trouble unmuting? All right.
It's not in the curriculum.
Yeah,
Here he goes.
there we go.
There he is.
You guys hear me now?
Yes.
You would think about 3 years in, we'd figure it out by now. No, but I want to say thank you everyone for being here. Kevin, thank you for going over a lot of the changes. You know, as everybody knows, this last year, it's been quite a roller coaster ride. I want to say our department as well as the Board of Health have been very resilient in dealing with a lot of these changes that come with the COVID pandemic. A lot of it has to do with the clinics, a lot of the outreach we've been doing, a lot of the just the vaccination effort in general is taking up a lot of the resources. But I think one of the most important things we want to highlight is that we're entering a stage right now where I want to say the work really begins, right? It's the recovery stage after the pandemic. So after our kind of acute response to making sure the town has the resources to get everybody vaccinated, everybody educated, now we have to do into recovery mode where we provide services to support those who have been in isolation for so long, and those that have conditions that we want to help educate about. And I think this next stage is going to require just more involvement through the health department to bring on resources such as a social services worker or someone, so I want to go over some of these changes kind of in general, and then I'll kind of answer the questions that everybody has. So one of the big ones that we're focusing on right now is under contractual services. We had proposed an increase to our training budget. That's travel inside the Commonwealth category. One of the things that we want to focus on here is building capacity within our current positions as well as the proposed new positions. We want to make sure that we're up to date on training. We want to have all the evidence-based training that we can get, making sure that our professional services for the community is the best that we can offer. And so I think that with the additional positions, this increase in budget will help us send everybody to the right resources. And in terms of the personal services, some of the big pieces that we want to highlight are the social services. And so the social service coordinator position, we've seen an increase in the number of complex cases that we've been trying to deal with within the town of Wakefield. And so it requires kind of a cross-disciplinary team. This could be the inspector. A lot of the times at the kind of the first point of contact when we reach these individuals, but then we quickly realize that they have other needs. And so we want to have the right personnel that understands what resources are out there, who to connect to, and be able to provide that follow-up. That's really important for individuals to make sure that they can get to all the things. So that's food pantry, working with emergency housing, all those scenarios. We can cover all of them by working closely with a community social service coordinator, as well as working with another health inspector. The assistant public health nurse position that we had proposed as well. We currently have a full-time public health nurse that is shared between the city of Melrose and the town of Wakefield. And we think that it's important for us to do some of the preventative work in the community as we come out of COVID. So that goes back to doing blood pressure clinics. That goes back to doing educational services for camps and for that's in the summer. And then we also have an opportunity to work with schools closely. And I think having someone in that assistant public health nurse position will be able to provide that support as well. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Anthony. Anybody got any questions?
Yes.
Hi, Don.
Yep. So the 386,076 does that include is that after the ARPA funds, or does that do those expenses include the ARPA funds?
That's after the ARPA funds.
Okay.
The ARPA funds have been reduced.
So this is to the tax levy, and then there's an additional.
Correct.
Let me look down here. 145,000
That's correct.
to opera?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. My second question on this is the social services, mental health outpatient. Do we also have positions that provide those services as part of the police department budget, or is this all in the Board of Health budget?
There is a clinician in the police department budget, yes, through
Okay.
Elliott Services.
All right. And does everybody coordinate together or?
Yes, so we do have quite a bit of collaboration with the clinician in the police department. They do provide support, especially when there's a case that police is called out to first, and then we will also provide the follow-up services once they pass it on.
Okay. And then do we access crisis services for the Medicaid and uninsured folks? Is there a crisis counseling group that we work with, or is that part of this?
This is part of Elaine, and so this was probably before my time, but Elaine, if you want to jump in, do you know anything about the crisis services that we coordinate with at any point?
I believe that was through Elliott. Am I not correct, Laurel?
Hi, guys. We have a standing agreement with Riverside, and we are revisiting that.
Riverside,
You know,
yes.
people kind of all went into their own corners. Nemlik, through the police department, often helps us with crisis work, but it's kind of been siloed, and that, in fact, part of this plan is to make sure that we have a better connection with our local resources. So we have had conversations with Riverside. Anthony, I believe, is working on reintroducing himself, and we're interested in getting them to come to the board to present their services, because everybody has evolved in the last few years, and we need to, as I love the word that Anthony's using, really reframe where we are in recovery right now.
Okay. Okay, good.
I have a, oh, I'm sorry, you done, Don, or you?
Yes, yeah, go ahead, Karen.
Thank you. So I was reviewing, looks like that we got an additional document that provided further background. First of all, thank you, Anthony, for providing that insight. And there's mention of a community services manager. I'm looking at the budget. Is that the C. Luongo position?
Oh, sorry. So you're referring to the community services manager?
Yes.
So that's actually a position that's being created through the drug-free communities grant. And so that's not necessarily a town budget position, but I'd be happy to give you kind of a quick overview. So this community services manager position is proposed to be a part-time position.
Mm-hmm.
They will be working closely with our human services manager. And so they provide a lot of the education pieces. They work very closely with Wake Up Coalition. And they also do a lot of the outreach with community services, like their title. So they work with food pantry, they work with the library, they work with all these other groups, and they host meetings, and they make sure that we have a collaborative within the community.
I see. And it seems like, it's obviously there's merit to the need for that position. And partly why I raised that, because I was wondering whether the services that would be rendered by that person could be sort of roped into the social services coordinator. I'm looking at the description, maybe not, but partly why I'm sort of raising that point is, obviously not only as the finance committee, but also just my trepidation with this is that like the additional multiple positions all at once might raise a flag. So I was just trying to sort of get a sense to whether we can kind of combine some of the duties, particularly for that part-time position, but it's being funded by a grant. So then also the social service coordinator, would that be a licensed social worker? Or is that what you all envision for that position?
Yeah, so it's not a clinical social worker. It's the term is, I believe I hope we put it in correctly, but I think it's the social services coordinator.
Yes.
And so yes, so it wouldn't be a licensed, it wouldn't be a clinical social worker, but they would be somebody with social work background.
Yes.
And so they'd be able to have experience working with resources.
Okay. think those are my just questions for now. I'll defer to the other members of the subcommittee. Thank you.
So I do have one question. And again, thank you, Anthony, for the insight. And maybe this may be a question more for Steve than anyone. In terms of the ARPA funds usage, and I know this will probably come up in the larger finance committee too, but what's kind of the future plan beyond? I believe I was reading your note in the email this year, and I believe next year we were looking at using ARPA funds. But longer term, because I'm sure we'll be battling over this in our bigger meeting.
Yeah, this is a case where the only thing worse than having no money is having a little bit of money, in my experience. So there are certain personnel areas or service areas, program areas that I would want to ease in with ARPA. So ARPA
Okay.
needs to be spent over 3 years.
Okay.
So I would say, like, for this year, we put in a little bit of our, 140,000 or so. Next year, I drop that down, have the tax levy cover more, and the year after that, the plan would be. So we would kind of carve out with our $8 million worth of ARPA that we have. That'll be up to the council, because it really actually ARPA falls all onto the council per the, I guess, the federal legislation. And then, I would carve out some of it that way, and then the vast majority would go towards, I would say, public works type projects, things like that. So this is a few areas. We do some here, probably some in the schools. You'll note we did that last year, and well, those of you that weren't on last year, we did that in last year's budget as well. We used some federal funds for offsets. So I think you've heard a couple of budgets where we've kind of weaned off of that already for those positions, and now we're kind of adding more that'll go in. So that's kind of the general plan. So if I had to look at that $8 million, I might say, for the sake of argument, like a pie of $1 million would go towards this over the next 3 years, program items rather than, infrastructure.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
All right, anybody else on this one?
Oh, just want to thank everybody on the Board of Health for everything you've done over the last couple of years. And it's been a tough time, but we've been fortunate in Wakefield to have all of you providing the support we need.
Yeah,
I think I also want to just give a shout out to the Board of Health. In the most basic essence, they are a regulatory body, but I think in the community, they've taken on such a large role. Not only do they set these regulatory standards, they also come out and work at the clinics. They also are at the very forefront of education. We have Elaine, who is being a contact tracer day in, day out, working on cases long before I came on, right? So I just want to make sure to recognize that the Board of Health has contributed a lot outside of our health department as well.
Great,
I would say that these positions or positions like these have been talked about over the last few years by the town council about the whole mental health aspect in the town of Wakefield, which most of this is. And I think COVID just kind of bubbled a lot of these up to the surface more. And now is kind of the time to bring that in. And I think it's going to really serve the community well. You would be shocked if you knew the number of cases and calls and families that are affected in this arena. I know I was when I hear the numbers, so well deserved.
Very good. Thanks, everybody. What do we, I think we can let those folks, the Board of Health folks sign off, right, Steve?
Sure. Thank you, guys. Have a
Welcome to
nice.
stick
Thank
around,
you.
but it's not that exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
listening
Thank
to
you,
us.
everyone.
Of course.
Great
Thank you,
job,
guys.
guys.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
There you go. All right, what do we got next, Kevin?
Next two budgets, we have general insurance and the workers' comp budget. We have John Spinello on the line here with us. John is the town's insurance agent. He's been with us many years, has done a great job for us. The general insurance budget, we're recommending an increase to this budget of $38,706 over the current fiscal year. This increase breaks down $36,141 to the tax levy, $1,445 to the water division, $1,120 to the sewer division. This budget covers the town's buildings, motor vehicles, professional liability, cybersecurity. Also, there's a new coverage this year. There's $1 million excess liability policy for the police department to do some training. That the cost of that was $7,500. The total budget request for fiscal 23 is $499,131, with $459,166 coming from tax levy, $25,245 coming from the water enterprise, and $14,720 coming from the sewer enterprise. With that, John, if you want to just give a quick overview of what's driving this budget and where we're going.
Quick.
Al,
It won't be quick and it will be exciting. I don't know why insurance isn't exciting.
Sorry, John.
Yeah, the budget's up 8%, and last November, we were notified we had to buy an excess policy in November. Back in 1988, we were given an umbrella policy by this program, and every year it went up by $1,000. In 91, I said, that's enough. In 92, I said, that was enough. I didn't want to have an umbrella anymore. And we haven't had one since. And whenever we give out a certificate of insurance, the vendors always seem to accept it. Our level of coverage is as good as anyone's. But Fort Devon's pushed back this year on the firing range for the police department, saying that they needed a $2 million limit. That was in November to renew their license in the end of December. So rather than buying an umbrella, we got an excess policy on a general liability. They quoted it at $2,800. It came in after I did this budget at about $1,979. So that $7,500 is high for next year. It's probably somewhere in the $6,000, $6,500. So I didn't really do anything with it. Figure we don't really know. We negotiate this budget in May, so I really figure we'll just leave it, let it sit there until then. So that's that portion of the budget. About 2% of this is, any questions on that police firing range or issue at all? Okay. 2% of this budget is just the increase over the expiring premiums. Last year, as you recall, was a difficult year in my industry. And when we talked about this time last year, I put in for 4.5, but I said that they were talking about an 8 or 10% increase. The underwriter I had was a new underwriter, and he said in February it's going to be 8 to 10. I said, no, it's not. And so we didn't really talk until May after I sent in all the renewal information. And I kept calling and asking what our renewal premiums are going to be. And so I talked to him on Monday, the week before Memorial Day weekend, and he said, I'll have them for you tomorrow morning, no problem. I said, okay. Didn't have him in the morning. In the afternoon, I finally called the supervisor, and he had left the company. So it was June 1st, and I had no renewal proposal. So Mark Glickman, who was actually a friend of mine from 30 years ago in this program, is the vice president. He called me up and he said, we've been given marching orders that we need to get 8%. I said, well, you're not going to get 8, charge someone who hasn't been in the program that long in Missouri for all I care. So we had a long weekend, him and I, and we kind of agreed on Monday about 6.5%. So we sent it off to Steve, and that's about the best we could do for last year. And then this year, I'm seeing a lot of, small increases, and we talked in December with underwriting, and we talked in November and December, because in November we had some issues with the safety building contract with Aon and Bond Brothers, and then this issue with the umbrella. So I said, you got to give me a break here. I can't do that 8% next year. She goes, no, she's probably in the 4.5% range. So again, it's a budget that I got to give back information to them sometime in April, and we start talking sometime in early May, I hope this year. But I think things are a lot better in the industry, and I'm seeing renewals either flat or just some slight increases. So I'm pretty confident with the 4.5, but that's the reason we're up in that 8% range.
Very good. Thanks, John. And we have any questions for John?
Can I just take a couple of minutes to talk about a couple of things, we know, on
Yeah.
this budget?
Yeah, I'm
You
sorry,
know,
John. Yep.
we look at this sometimes, as, oh, well, it's a rate increase and another rate increase, and, when does it end? And so I went back and dug up just some information on the last 5 policy periods. From 2015 till now, we've had about $50 million in property insurance. We put $40 million onto took $32 million off of the Galvin and put 72 back on. We put $5 million onto the Walton, and we took Doyle School out of mothballs where it had no coverage when we put in the preschool early childhood program there. And we also had about $1 million of payroll to our workers' comp. Back then, we had 159 vehicles. Last year, we topped out at 182. We have 178 now. And each of those vehicles is around $625, $650 each. So there's another $13,000. Law enforcement liability in the last couple of years has gone up nationwide, and claims activity has, in both locally for us too. So that's up about $4,000. And we've added an excess policy and cyber liability 2 years ago. So we've had organic growth. And we're probably going to continue to have organic growth because a lot of our policies are rated on, like law enforcement is rated on number of officers. Fire department is rated on number of firefighters. The school budget, we throw completely out and we rate it all on teachers. So as the population grows and the service of that population, that's how this rating is, that's how this gets expanded. So I don't want you to think that it's just we throw on 4%. Every 5 years, I have to submit this account like it was a brand new account to them. It's a lot of work for them, a lot of work for us, but we give them the town warrant. We take out unemployment, capital improvements, health insurance, retirement, and we get down to what the expenditures are. We get rid of the school, get rid of the police, we get rid of the fire. And that's how I can, what the expenditures are, what's left, we have a rate per thousand, and that's how I come up with the water and sewer department. So, and then every year we have small increases. We increase the property insurance every single year as part of our agreement with them. So some of it's automatic. So it isn't just, I don't think it's just we roll on, or not we, but the companies just roll on. There's a lot of organic growth that we've had over the last 5 years. I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
John, the new public safety building, I mean, and a new high school eventually, that's gonna affect this too, correct?
Well, on the safety, the safety building, I'm not really going to make too much changes. We have a 42,000 square foot building there. We're putting 4,000 only additional there. And right now we have it at $350 a square foot. That renovation, rehab, or reconfiguration is around $450 or $9.2 million. I would never put $2.9 million on that building. I might put $3 million, because the company knows about it. We had to get basically their permission not to put it on a builder's risk. We already have the footprint there. We're not really changing much. We're only adding 4,000 square feet. But yes, you're right. We'll probably put a couple, you and I will talk about that next year sometime when it's complete, but maybe put a couple million. But the high school is going to be an issue, Just to give you one other thing about where we are in this rating. Back in fiscal year 18 and 19, Trident sent us an agreement that they wouldn't increase our premiums by 2.5% as a loyalty factor. Well, I had that thing in Steve's hand in 15 minutes, and we signed that thing and sent it back. At that time, we had a 5-cent rate on our property. And but the property insurance, as it is nationwide, keeps going high, these cat losses and everything. So when they took, the underwriter I had took it over a year ago, he said, we're only charging you 5 cents on this. Now, 5 cents on 300 million is $150,000. He said, everyone else is at 7. So he did go to 7, but we pulled some things away from public officials, school board liability, to try to make it so, ease the impact on it. So, property insurance is going to be an issue for everyone, including your own homeowners in the coming years. And, you're looking maybe another $100 million on this property schedule, probably. We have 300 million now. I guess when we get to the high school, we'll cross that bridge at that point, I guess. But yes, the answer is yes.
And we also added cyber liability a few years ago, which goes without saying, we need that.
Well, we do. We have data compromise and cyber liability. The one thing we don't have is, which was in the Globe. I don't know if anybody saw that over in Tewksbury, where they had wire transfer fraud. We don't have that, but and we can buy insurance for everything. At some point, you got to, absorb some of these things yourself, but I thought that was kind of interesting, but, okay. Anything else on the general insurance I can answer? Anything?
I'm all set.
Okay, thank you.
Good, John.
I've got a question for Kevin, I think.
Sure.
The percent allocation to water and sewer is different than the increases. How is? So.
Actually, that would probably be a John question. John, the percent?
So is it actually a net, or I'm just trying to figure out, is there a methodology to the transfers on this, or?
They should be the same. So you're not going by expenditures, you're going by appropriation. So the way I end up doing those two is I have to get the number of vehicles from from Dennis Gorman every
Okay.
year, what's assigned to each. So I'm not sure how I did that, but he gives me the
Yeah.
number of vehicles, and then I take the liability, I take their expenditures and multiply it by that rate.
Yeah, that was kind of my question. Is it basically based upon, what they're using of this, or is it
Correct,
just
right.
an allocation?
Correct.
Okay.
Trying to look at that now. You know what, I'll look at it closer and I get back to Kevin on that. Is that okay? And then we'll talk next week on it. I'll bring it back next week. Is that fair?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Perfect.
Okay, yeah, I'll get back to that next week. I'll do that next week. Fair enough.
Sounds good. John, we have other John items, right?
We do.
Yep.
Take it away, John.
All set with general insurance?
Yes.
Okay. John, you want to just go into workers' comp?
Yeah, so another confusing year, but I sent the experience rating, and I'd like to just start with that first if I could. The experience rating sheets, there should be 3 of them, and I marked off the columns as 1 through 4. So if everyone has that, that would be good.
You guys got those, right? I think.
Right, that came through as PDFs.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Okay, so our experience has been fantastic. We're at 0.99 right now. That's the first time in over 20 years we've been on the credit side. If you look at the column number 1, the actual incurred losses, we had 295, we had 80, and we had 203. The good news is we're going to lose, well, it isn't really a bad year, but we're going to lose $295,000 in our next year's rating. And in my cover letter, I put that we're only at $60,000 year to date, which, considering the winter and the ice and everything, I'm really surprised that we're down that low, but I'll take it. So, we're having a really good year this year, and that'll carry us for a few more years. However, there's always a bad news thing in here. So anyway, one thing I want to show, if you look at 2020, the $203,000 compared to the 80. If you remember last year, I said to you, we have 2 types of rate in workers' compensation. We have on premises and we have off premises. During the pandemic, I was saying that it was a lot of it was weather related. All of our off premises exposures were working. Highway, cemetery, water, sewer. Light department spent $500,000 in payroll just to finish up a 2-year job in 1 year. So they were all working. Our on premises, they weren't. And we had fantastic weather, as you know. But if you look at, the 7/1/2020 actual incurred losses, we have 203. What's interesting here is that last February, we had 2 slip and falls within 5 days on ice in parking lots that cost us $75,000. And we had 1 slip and fall, which is our biggest exposure to loss on premises, which is at $84,000. So 3 of those losses were slip and falls at $165,000. But it shows you that one, we had the weather and the icy conditions off premises, and then we had the full exposure, almost full exposure back on with employees coming back to the buildings. We had a slip and fall. So either way, I don't care how we got there. We're at $60,000 this year, and we have 4 more months to go. And if we can have, I'd take $150,000 in losses. If it does, you could be looking at a mod at around 0.9, 0.91. That's outstanding for us for this. It hasn't been like that in many, many years. So I'm very happy about that. In my cover letter, which really threw us a curveball this year, the Rating Bureau came out with a 2.5% average rate increase. I don't know where they come up with 2.5, but 4 of our heavy codes, highway division teachers, cafeteria, and municipal employees, all tax levy, had huge increases in my mind. I did go through the manual, and some of the contracting codes went down, but we get hit pretty good, I think, on this. Unfortunately, if this rate increase didn't go through, our tax levy would probably be under $400,000, and that would be absolutely fantastic. Okay, so last August, Mega, for the first time, who's our carrier, it's a self-insured group, declared a $1 million dividend. Now, there's 172 members, 26 charter members. We're the largest, and we were the first one in 1991. So that's great, So they had a conference in Woburn in November that I went to. And when I got there, I thought I was going to pick up a nice dividend check to bring back to the town, but it didn't work that way. They apparently put their information into the Division of Insurance that they wanted both a dividend and a premium credit with $1 million. I don't know how you can stretch it to 172 members, but they want to give some premium credit. They were concerned about members that were there that left or new members that came on. I voiced my opinion, said people that aren't here don't get anything, and people just get on, they don't get anything either. It should go to the charter members. And the chair of the board, who actually knows Steve pretty well, we talked afterwards, she agreed, but the DOI pushed back on it. I don't blame them. It was too complicated. Just issue the damn dividend check. Just give it to us. We deserve it. So they said they'd have all the information back to us in time for September, in January for our fiscal year 23 budgets. Didn't get anything in January. So I said, I emailed them and I said, I'm going to put this budget together. This is my second go around on this budget. So I said, how about some premium credit? Because I asked them for it last year when our mods were 102, knowing I wouldn't get it. So they said, okay, well, we'll bring it to the board. So they came back and they gave us 3% off, which was about $15,000. I said, okay, now where's the dividend and where's the premium credit? I'd rather have it in a dividend, because this budget is made up of payroll, experience rating, and what the rates are. That's all I really want to deal with. So they said, okay, we meet on the 10th. And I called them on the 10th. They said, well, the DOI has it. It's a formality. And I said, well, what is it? She goes, well, we can't let it out until about the 28th. So that's Monday. I don't know if I'll have in time for the council meeting, but I may have for next week. So whether it's a combination of a dividend or a combination, something's going to happen. So if it's a combination, then we can change this budget. If it's a dividend, then this doesn't change whatsoever. So that's what's been going on. So most of this increase obviously is in tax levy. The light department was the only one who had a rate decrease go down, which doesn't make Steve and Kevin very happy, but.
Hate it.
I know. I know.
Yeah, John has been giving us great service for as long as I can remember, and he really does go above and beyond. And he is very excited about this, our experience mod.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to remember that 3 years ago, our experience mod, the combination of the large and small losses was 132. So we're paying 32% above manual premium, and now we're paying 1%. Well, I actually paying 4% below manual premium. So that's a huge swing when you from $600,000 down to mid 450. Those are numbers I like.
It'll make a big difference hopefully next year as well.
It will. Yeah. I just have to get through 4 more months.
Right.
Did we have any COVID related workers' comp, or is that classified separately?
It's not covered,
No.
not covered. Almost. I mean, there was a lot of pushback from a lot of people and, the state level for that, but yeah, honestly, you could have bankrupted a lot of insurance companies with something like that. I don't know how you would have handled it. I mean, this company, if it was, I mean, you would have had, I mean, this is a self-insured group, it has limited amount of funds. I mean, you'd put it right out of business, so.
All right, anything, John, is that, do we have more from you?
No, no more fun.
No more fun.
All right, does anybody else have anything for John before we let him escape to his evening?
Nope. Other than thank you.
Great,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you, John.
Thanks,
If
everybody.
I recall, the when you came before us last year, we were a little bit more of a pain. So,
Absolutely.
I'm glad this one was a lot smoother, and you don't have to deal with silly questions from people like me. Or I think Doug was giving you a hard time.
Well, you know what happens? I spent 30 years in the banking business, and I was a chairman at one time, and you'd have an agenda that was so big, and you'd have one small thing on the agenda, and someone would say something, before you know it, you spend the whole, it gets out of hand, and it just runs with it, and it's fine, it's okay. We're all good. It's a new year. All right, I'll see you
Thank you,
guys
John.
next week. See you. Okay, take care. All right,
Ciao.
bye.
You.
All right, Kevin.
I think we're all set.
Cool.
That was it.
That was easy.
Oh, that was it. Okay.
All right. Anybody have anything else?
I did just have one question, Evan.
Okay.
I do see that there was the fire budget that came up or came through the emails as well.
Yeah.
What
Is
is
that for
that?
the general committee? I thought that was a separate email for the general committee.
There's a separate, yeah, I think it might have been, but there's a separate subcommittee for fire.
Perfect. Thank you.
Although, fire away any questions, of course, to the chief and Steve. I think we'll be dealing with it I don't know if we're dealing with it on Thursday, but
Thursday.
eventually you're gonna, see that before you. So,
That'll be next Thursday. You'll be dealing with that.
all right, excellent. Cool. All right, then I guess I can entertain a motion to adjourn, right?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor, sign off. Thank you, guys.